Warning. If you a victim, cut the line. This is Actions Loud. I'm your host, Blue Cicero. Got my geyser, Nuclear Whiz. What's good, my boy?
Chilling, chilling, man. Chilling, chilling, brother. Another day, another dollar.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, a lot's been going on in our world. It is difficult to keep up sometimes. And I don't know if that's intentional or not. What you think that is like? Because I know we are a society that struggles with staying focused for extended periods of time. Do you think that it may be an intentional push by our media outlets and even the platforms we have now, social media wise, that they bombard us with so much information constantly that we can't actually pay attention for extended periods of time?
I don't think that's it. I think, I don't think that there's some, I don't think there's a successful hidden agenda, if you will. I think it's just a byproduct of what's natural, right? Because when you said that, it made me think of Dick Gregory when he talked about his wife. And his wife every morning made sure that she had 15, 20 newspapers from around the country and had already identified stories that would pique his interest in things of that nature. And it's like we
Hmm.
just now have that centralized. So we now have one device. Whereas if you wanted all this information back in the day, you had to go and get it from all these different sources. But now we got so much information that it's almost like an informational overload. It's only but so much you could do with said information and only for so much time. It kind of remind me of the that joint you told me to watch, Common People.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? Where it's like,
yeah,
yo,
yeah.
if you get outside of this web, it start getting hazy. It's like, yo, your joint is so you kind of got to
Yeah,
stay in it, if you will, or stay within this bubble. And
you gotta
our
stay connected.
yeah, in order to stay awake, you got to be on top of all of this shit. And then for us, I look at it and I'm okay with it because it's a constant stream of content for us to always talk about. And we know that it's piquing a lot of people's interest. We see when we comment on or give a reaction to certain things, it's resulting in a lot of engagement in the comment section. We got a lot of crybabies. We whenever we say anything and it has even a hint of accountability, it's like, yo, I'm allergic. I didn't order that.
Yeah, no, but them over
yeah,
there, those
yeah,
people over there.
yeah.
But what about
Like
them?
they got the strong pointer fingers going. It's like,
Yeah, yeah,
yo,
yeah, exactly.
straight
Extremely
up, bro.
strong, extremely
But
strong.
we get involved with shit as it comes. I want to talk about a couple of things. Um, I guess what you thinking we should start off? You want to start off kind of light? Let's start off with
So yeah, yeah, we could start off light. Yeah, start off light. Whatever light is.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
we could start off light.
It's all relative.
That
Let me
part.
see. Hold on. Uh, yo, actually, you know what? Rather than starting light, yo, let's go in the opposite direction. Today is Martin Luther King. Today, Malcolm X's birthday. So,
It
you
would have
know,
been 100, his 100th birthday.
and you know, we always sugarcoat things where, you know, our predecessors told us what's up.
Hmm.
And as long as they were telling us stuff we wanted to hear, then it was good. But when they tell us stuff that we don't want to hear, then it's like, you know, it's like the Bible. You know, we pick and choose what we want from the past. But these is, again, people that were in the fire
Yeah,
saying these things. And you got people who disagree from outside the fire. Like, nah, that fire not that hot. You know, but, you know, I saw this earlier and I'm like, we still are dealing with this right now. This is no different. He says, that white person that you see calling himself a liberal is the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere. He is the most deceitful. He's like a fox, and a fox is always more dangerous in the forest than the wolf. And I'm like, yo, just the cunningness of what it is that they're saying. And I feel like uh, back then he said the white liberal, and
yeah,
now in 2025, we just have to say the liberal. So there's like everybody on the liberal side is still playing the same game of, you know, throwing a stone and hiding my hand, you know, delivering disinformation, part of the information. We not being real. Nobody's being real with us because we don't require it. That's why I keep saying we like some hoes. We want to be lied to. Make it sound
beautiful
good.
line. Don't break my heart, tell me beautiful lies.
Yo, and it's like, yo,
Yeah,
come on, yo, we are the people we claim to venerate told us these things. So at the minimum, even if you're still going to remain a liberal, you're now supposed to be putting liberal politics under scrutiny. You're supposed to ask questions because this is like our comment section on the Atlanta video. Oh, well, you know, it's bad over there. So does that mean that we disregard what is bad over here because it's bad over there? Like that,
yeah,
I
that
don't
part.
understand. I don't understand that logic.
Neither do I. And how do we ever move the needle when we continue to have that type of thought process? We don't. We
Word.
don't. We just stay in a rut and we could continue to cry about it. But the thing is, our world is ever changing. The landscape is extremely different. Similar to like what we talked about uh, with Klarna, right? I know we're going to touch on that a little bit later. But just the changes in the market, the changes politically, the changes culturally, like these are things that we got to adapt to and adjust if we want to remain relevant. Or you
Yeah.
could just sit back and allow time to pass you by, continue to cry about the past, don't do the work in the present, and ultimately your future is dismal.
Yep.
It's like yo, we know we could go home back where we came from, and we know where certain people are. We know how to find them. They probably gonna ask for some change, and these were a lot of times the cool ass individuals that we grew up with, cool as hell, solid back when we were kids. But because they never did the work, now they the drunk uncle with the this much liquor in his solo cup that never changes the amount. It just stays this much. And I'm like, yo, how did we become that? Like that's how I always be thinking, even with like fiends. It's like, so you so I know that there's a cause and effect in a lot of this, right? So it could be traumatic events, it could be um chemical imbalance. Like, yo, you never know. Like, yo, I thank God that he protected me through some of my dumbass decision making. And I know some of my peers were not as fortunate. But then that could alter it. So like, but we know what fiends look like. So where would you see a fiend and then be like, yeah, you know what? That's the life I want.
Yo, you know what's funny about that is I remember one time my grandmother says, "Yo, you know, when I was trapping, I used to go down there, and that was my tax. I would get down wherever I used to trap at. I would like break bread in that section. You know what I'm saying? Like that was my way of paying a tax, paying it forward. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
from one time, my grandmother down in Alabama, I used to always give her money when I get down there, and then she called me one day and she says, you know, grandson, your uncle want me to give him some money, and I think he messing with that stuff again, and you know, and I'm like, yo, let him let that play out. And she's like, well, you know, it's my baby, it's my this, you know, what can I do? This, that, and the other. Now, mind you, when she's saying her baby, this is somebody that's in their 50s.
No,
You know what I'm
always
saying?
mama's baby, you know. You know how it
That's
goes.
that's the baby. So I told her to what you're saying. I said, listen, let me say it to you this way. Imagine you grow up with your best friend, and when you grow up, you're in the hood, and you see the pissy hallways, you see the drug addicts, you see the fiends, you see like how they look, how they carry themselves, you see how they're treated, and you look and say, "Yo, yeah, that ain't for me." But somehow your best friend decides that, "Yo, you know what? I want to partake in that." At that point in time, you can't say anything to your best friend to change them because you don't have ammunition. They saw everything that you saw that made it a deterrent for you, and they decided, nah, that fire not that hot. Let me jump in there.
Pretty much.
That's what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is where I feel like even a lot of times we are as a people is we are determined to feel the fire. Like we got to feel the fire. We don't want to take anybody's word that yo, this fire will burn you up.
Well, you know, and I think there's also an additional element to that of people feeling like they're special. So you know
Oh,
what? Yeah, I think this will not affect me in the same way. I'm different. And it's like, no, no,
yeah.
you're not. But the truth is, what does make you different is when you're able to elevate past all of that, when you're able to be consistent, be, you know, prioritize and be disciplined in your day to day. Just like we talk about all of the philandering and stuff that goes on out here, like we could literally be a part of that. That doesn't take much. It doesn't take much at all. But what
Yo,
does take much is the kind of is to be more disciplined and move differently out here because we trying to build. And what's involved in a lot of that is destruction.
yo, you know what's funny is I was thinking about this earlier. I was like, yo, when we were young, we used to chase pussy behind the fact of our vitality, right? Like you'd be like, "Oh yeah, yo, I'ma lay that pipe. She gonna, yo, she going to sleep. Her legs shaking. This,
Think
that, and
about
the
it.
other.
Think about it. Think about
All of that, right?"
it. Yeah.
And matter of fact, it was when I was running earlier, right? Because I told you I was running because we did the joint on the fat chicks, and I was like, yo, let me not be a hypocrite. I ain't afraid to go do some exercise just out the blue. You feel me?
Don't be
So
stuck on the things they say, 'cause you know it's a nasty world. But I
yo.
ain't fucking with you anyway, 'cause I know you're a nasty girl. I ain't ever gonna discriminate, so let me compliment your eyes. It's nothing
Yo,
but a little baby fat. Them Twinkies done got your ass fat.
right? So I'm sitting there and I
Yeah.
was thinking and I was like, yo, that used to be the thing, right? You used to say, yo, you know what? I rock her world. I do all this. Yo, tear it out the frame. Do all this, that, and the other. And it's like, that's not doing anything. But that's the way you think when you broke. And all you got to do to confirm that that is what you do when you broke, just think of when a motherfucker come home from jail. That's all he got to offer.
You're right.
All he got to offer is that. And when we're young, we broke. You know what I'm saying? And then the women gravitate towards that nonsense too. So it's like, yo, oh, he gonna really put it down. He gonna do this, that, and the other. And it's like, yo, but is he gonna raise a child? Is he gonna be gainfully employed? Is this motherfucker gonna be a producer? Is he a planner? Is he a leader? None of that don't matter, and we don't think about none of that because in our mind, yo, even you see somebody else, oh yeah, yeah, I knocked that out there. He don't know what to do with that.
Shit, now I'll be like, man, he could have it.
He could have it,
Have it all day. I don't want it.
bro. Because every time, I remember one time my boy asked me, he's like, yo, when I had first came out here to LA, and he's like, yo, he see all these girls. He's like, yo, bro, how you like navigating this joint, bro? Like this is wild. I was like, bro, I look at women and say, even if she's bad, somebody else is tired of her right now. As bad as she is, somebody is tired of her right now. And it's just gonna be repackaged until I figure out what they were tired of her about. So I can't
Hmm.
look at a female and then be like, oh, yo, I gotta have that. I need to do this. I need to do that. That wasn't my mentality because I felt that females are constant. Like if you're doing what you're supposed to do, females are constant. Like they're gonna come. It doesn't matter. I've seen it. We've seen it. We grew up seeing it. None of the fat dudes or the ugly niggas or none of that. Nobody had a shortage of twat. Everybody was getting some. So it's like, as a man, we gotta do better. Like we have to place our priorities in a different place and space. And it's just so much to it because even when we talking about this, I go back looking at this Malcolm X joint and I'm just like, yo, this man had all five of his daughters with one woman, did everything supposedly right, and look at us, look where we at, 100 years in, and look at the conversations we having. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at the childhood that we had, and look at where we are. We're no further as a people since he died, or since he was killed. That's wild. That's wildly disrespectful, especially given the resources we got. Could you imagine what him or Marcus Garvey or somebody would have did with these resources, bro? Look what they was
I
doing with
already,
none.
yo, I already know. I already know.
That joint is
I
crazy,
kind
bro.
and yo, and so I always say, and you brought up Dick Gregory earlier. The book that I read that made me feel like I was a pool putt and I wasn't doing shit out here was Callous on My Soul. And I read that book and I was tired just reading what Dick Gregory was doing out here. Like I was just tired from just reading what he was doing. I was like, God damn, I said he was doing all of this? Shit. Yo, I gotta step my game up.
Like all the way up,
Because
bro.
with the resources, back to what you just said, with the resources that we have between the automation, AI, Wi-Fi, cell phones, all of this technology we got, and we still got motherfuckers crying about reparations for something that they did not even do to deserve any reparations for.
Not only that, bro, these motherfuckers don't got a plan of what they gonna do with the reparations. We keep
There's
talking
no
about this.
agenda.
We saw what happened with the PPP and the during COVID with the COVID money. It's like
Yeah, I
motherfuckers
know.
got all this bread,
I know.
moved zero needles with it.
Well, no, they moved the economy because that's what consumers are supposed to do, and we're consumers. So we moved the economy. But as far as impactful shit for our community, no, no.
Yo, impactful shit for the community, bro. Impactful shit for yourself, bro. You should have seen
Well, it
during
starts with
COVID.
you. It starts with
During
you. You already know.
yeah, during COVID, we should have seen like a uh, like an influx of self improvement things. Everybody was off for the most part and could have done anything to improve themselves in that time off to really explode out the mud. And all we did was, we partied in quarantine.
Yeah, verses, man. Them verses, man. That Snoop and DMX shit was crazy. The Gucci and Jeezy shit was crazy. We had my man, my DJ, who was doing the sets. Man, it was popping. It was popping, bro.
Yo, and now here we are with no new skills. The world has changed, right? Because a lot was happening during COVID. We learned a lot of jobs were not actually that necessary.
That part.
You know what I'm saying? We learned how inconsequential we were in the fields that we were, like we start seeing like black celebrities crying about how unfair the pay is and all. Listen, yo, in a time of emergency, you're not that significant. What you provide is not essential. This is what the reality is. This is not my feelings. The economy determines this. In a free market, the economy determines your value. It's not you. You can feel whatever you want to feel. We saw Lizzo feel skinny or feel healthy or feel great. Tell the whole world how wonderful it is, and then she burning pictures essentially of her old self and all that. Like this is the real. Like you got to be real with yourself. Stop blowing smoke, and we got to stop condoning it. Like you said yesterday with the video with the fat chick. Like yo, why is this whole audience full of women is letting this fat chick tell this lie, and they ain't saying nothing? We don't operate like that, bro. Like as men, we don't operate like that. I don't even hang in circles that would be anything like that, bro. Like we'll get in an argument about correction before we just be like, yeah, nah, yeah, you right, yup, you right.
Yeah, because we are builders and we know iron sharpens iron, bro. So if I see my brother doing some shit that's not conducive to us building, I'm gonna call that shit out for what it is. I mean, that's naturally what we as men are supposed to do.
Word.
Because the other side of it is we can't do it with our ladies, right? They don't receive it. Well, if you say something, you're the angry black man.
Oh no, you're not protecting black women.
Oh yeah. That's the other part about it. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right.
you're
You're
not
right. We're not
protecting.
protecting black women.
You're not protecting black women. How dare you look at something uh, that doesn't support black women even in they fuckery? Because yo, those is our
Yo, the real deal is if I didn't support black women, I would just overlook it and go get a white girl or something. I
yo.
wouldn't say shit about it.
Let me tell you something. This is a lot of my views as it pertains to black women centers around this thought right here. I know way too many females who were molested, and the women are the ones who covered it up. The women's are the ones who allowed the perpetrator to continue out, to keep doing what they're doing. They're the ones who turned a blind eye. They're the ones who uh, villainized the girls. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't see fathers telling their daughter, yo, uh, you were dressing provocatively. That's what got that man on you like that in the household. Like, it just doesn't work like that. Like, seeing things that women condone, especially our women, lets me know, like, yo, when emotions are stirred, when emotions are ruffled, you're dealing with a bitch. That's what this is. It's like, and that's not gender specific. As men, though, we are supposed to operate with our emotions in check. We're supposed to be moving logically, rationally, and it's like, trying to convince women to do that when I tell you what I think. This how I feel about our women. Since we on the topic, this wasn't even what we supposed to be on, but this how I feel
At
about our
all.
women.
At all.
The logic of our women is, if we're on a boat together and I poked a hole in the boat, instead of patching the boat and trying to figure out, yo, look, how we can stop this, we need this, this can't happen, we on a boat, we on a journey, gotta fill the hole. Women be like, oh, so you poked a hole? Well, I'm gonna go poke a hole over here. Oh, you poke two holes? I'm gonna go poke two holes over here. There's no logic or rationale to that type of response. And I've been in positions where I could have been emotional. When I was younger, I would have been emotional. You know what I'm saying? But knowing better, knowing all that's at stake and all that's on the line, it's like, yo, check them emotions. That ain't got nothing to do with anything. We're going somewhere. And it's like, you know, the emotions is important, bro.
Yo, and the truth is, as men, we're results driven. So if these emotions are not tied into us achieving the results we're trying to get, there's no need for it. There's no need for it. So I know some of our women might feel like we ain't tied in, we ain't tapped in like that emotionally. And the truth is, we are. The minute we start reacting emotionally, that's when there is a problem. So I see, speaking of emotions, we got Angel Reese up here.
Yo, and before I even play this, since this is out there, it's like, we get called so much shit, bro. Like, we get called so much shit. Like, people wouldn't even know because they're like, yo, who are you guys? And it's just like, yo, our comments be lit. We get called so many different things. And yet,
And we love it. We love
yeah,
it.
yeah, for sure. I wish TikTok would allow me to return fire the way that, you know, I'm
Yeah, they be
accustomed
trying
to.
to put a muzzle on this show.
Yeah, we can't, really let you have it. And anybody that do listen to these and feel like you got that smoke, for sure, come through. I'd love to hear your perspective, love to hear your opinion, and love to crush that shit. Get the victimhood all about you. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
we don't fools with that.
Yeah.
We don't fool
So,
with victim on this side of the tracks.
no victims allowed, period. So, you know, we see this shit, and I just feel like we have to do something. You know what I'm saying? Like, neither one of us need to be doing this, but we both need to be doing this. You
And
know what I'm
that's the
saying?
other thing that a lot of our audience doesn't understand, but I believe as we continue our journey, they will. You know, had somebody call me out, said I need to do some continued adult education classes instead of podcasting. And the truth is, this is our version of the pulpit. Just like our predecessors moved the needle behind the pulpit, that's how the whole civil rights movement was organized. And that's how they got a lot of their information out historically for decades. So in 2025, this is our pulpit. Now you got a lot of people who sit behind this mic and spew a bunch of bullshit because they know there's a lot of sheep out here. Shit, we know that too. And the truth of the matter is, bro, and we talk about this, we could have took a lot of different angles behind these mics, and we would have been so good financially, so
Yeah,
good. So the thing is, we sit back and we watch what's going on out here. We know what the deal is. But what we do is we stay true to who we are, and this is who we've been. Ride on those principles and that integrity, and we trying to build out here. We trying to move the needle, and that's what we're gonna do. So yeah, I'm done.
yo,
I'm off my soapbox.
and just to add to that, even though people are gonna see these, they're gonna hear everything that we're saying. This originally, thanks, PBD, seeing a clip of him say, "Yo, your grandfather couldn't do this. Your dad couldn't do this, but now you can leave who you were to your child and to your grandchildren, and that's major." So for me,
Extremely.
this is I don't want my downline, if you will, to guess what type of time I was on, or take anybody else's word for whatever type of time I was on, or anybody's interpretation is like, hey, look, you could hear from the horse's mouth. This is what this is, and it just so happens that we're getting traction. Think about how many people said nobody want to listen, nobody want to hear you guys talk about this, nobody want to hear this, nobody wants to hear that. But truth is, we closing in on our first 100,000 views. So I mean, somebody listening, somebody seeing it. We got plenty of fucking engagement on the post. They're not ghosting it. They coming back. They wrong and strong. They ready, yo.
Yo,
They
and they
ready to
doing
knock
it.
us. Yeah, they ready to knock us off that soapbox.
Well, because the truth hurts at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
one of the things, I know we're gonna get into this, Angel Reese, but one of the things like I think about, I remember growing up always hearing ignorance is bliss, right? And as a kid, you hear a lot of different little mantras and these phrases, and you don't really understand them because you don't have the life experience to 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 connect the dots and understand the magnitude of what the words are. Even though you hear the words, but you don't have that life experience to connect it, right? And I sit here in my 41st year of life, and I wholeheartedly understand that to be ignorant is an extremely easy, thinkless type of existence. When you don't have to consider the nuances and intricacies of what's really going on around you in your world, that shit is easy breezy. But when you actually know what's going on and you start to deep dive on the daily things that are occurring in your world, even when it comes down to us, like as individuals, because we are continually to learn about ourselves, bro. And even then, sometimes I'll be like, damn, yo, even like as a father, There's situations where I look back and I'll be like, damn, yeah, I think you failed that test. You didn't do too well on that one. But then there's others I'll be like, damn, nigga, you surprised me. Shit. Like, I'll be telling myself, nigga, I'm proud of you. Like, the way you handled that, that was fucking phenomenal. You know,
Yo,
so yeah.
you saying that remind me. Uh, I was walking with my son, and he had to be maybe about 5 at the time, and we used to go walk through the neighborhood. And one day he was walking, but he wouldn't walk like in front of me or wouldn't walk, but like even beside me. I'm like, yo, um, why you not walking up? He said, cause I want to step where you step,
Mm.
right? And that joint just hit me like a ton of bricks because I knew he
Mm.
didn't know the magnitude of what it was that he was saying in that. But I was like, yo, I gotta, yo, this is crazy. This is this is real, and it's always been my mission to not raise him to be another me, but to raise him to be totally himself because that's the one thing truly that I don't believe that I was able to get unfiltered purely was to be myself because of the environment that I was raised in. So my goal isn't like, oh, yo, he got to be dripped out, or any of my children, they got to be dripped out and be, uh, like the dopest, flyest. None of that. Like, yo, I try to pour into what they gravitate towards to really let them explore being them. And it's just been it's been a journey, bro. This is why I go so hard on the community with the youth, and it sound like, oh, yo, he's fucked up, or but it's like, no, yo, like a lot of these children's parents need to be stomped out. That's
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh shit. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
bro. There's no other way, bro.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no other
Yeah.
way to rationalize how this plays out because this is willful. Nobody's putting a gun to any of their heads. The book that we're writing with the slave narratives, they were facing the threat of death, right? Like the threat of physical punishment and things of that nature. Nobody is dealing with that today. Nobody's dealing with that. Nobody's putting a gun to a grandma head and making her go to the club with her daughter and try to prove that at 45 she still could pull 25-year-olds.
Yo, that reminds me of something that one of the probably really influential radio personality activist Joe Madison, God bless the dead. And I listened to Joe Madison for years, and one of the things that he would always say is the difference between a moment and a movement is sacrifice. And that ties directly into what you're saying, right? So I look at these moments and we have this idea, this conflated idea that if we take these 1200, 1500, I heard the next iPhone that's coming out is going to be even more. if we take these damn near $1,500, $1,700 phones and write a post, put up a video, and sound like we know what we talking about on something that's trending at the very moment that isn't actually impacting us personally on a daily basis, but something that is placed in front of us on this blue screen, we feel that that's activism. And then we speak about things not having our affairs in order and then suffer potential consequences like the Dusty dude who lost his job at Volkswagen, talking about Rodney Hinton.
Oh yeah.
And then now he damn puts up a page trying to raise some money. Like, bro, if you don't shut the hell up and get a job and be a fucking man, men don't do that.
I can't argue with you there, brother. I cannot argue with you there. Like I honestly, it had me thinking earlier. I was like, yo, the minimum wage out here is like $20 for working in the fast food joints, and if you go in there, it's like you're seeing less workers. And I thought about that, and I was like, yo, I would have killed it. Back in the day, I would have killed it because of my work ethic, right? Like, if that was going to be the difference, because that's why I couldn't keep a job back in the day. Back in the day, the reason why I couldn't hit a 1 year anniversary for jobs is because I always asked for raises. Now, I didn't ask for a raise like always, oh, the company's making all this money, this, that, and the other. My logic was, yo, I'm seeing my peers, and because they're not putting this work in, they're not taking it serious. Why should I come to work and get paid the same amount of money for my 8 hours, and I'm producing more than this individual? So by default, you got to go figure out your budget. But I need to get paid more because I see what the standard is and I'm exceeding it. Has always been my logic, bro. They'd be like, "Oh, you gotta wait for an assessment, or you gotta wait for the year." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. My work is evident now. This is not. It's nothing theoretical." Like,
Well, and you know that kind of ties into a conversation that I was having that I shared with you on a post in reference to Gen Xers, Gen
oh,
Xers, and the struggles that they're facing in the workplace right now because of the competition with millennials and then also now Gen Zers, right? And one of the people this, on the conversation made mention of millennials needing to wait their positions because what she was referring to was millennials not being willing participants to sit back and allow Gen Xers to fill positions that are increasingly being um, opened up because of baby boomers phasing out in the workspace. And I had to pretty much ask her, why should millennials wait when they have the skill set? And not saying that all of them do, but if you have those skill sets, if the standards here and you're up here, why should I sit back and wait to be in a role that I know I can have an impact on now?
okay. So basically, if I'm understanding correctly, you're trying to figure out why the red shirt sophomore doesn't understand why the touted freshman is now going to potentially be starting when he's waited in line for 3 years to ascend.
But that's not my issue. That's not my issue that you waited in line, bro.
Yeah.
That's not my problem.
Yo,
I'm just saying that's not my
I feel
problem.
you. I feel you, brother. I
Okay,
feel
you played that role. You sat there and waited and well, my opportunity's gonna come. All I gotta do is just wait, and I'll just play it safe. We ain't playing safe around here.
yo.
And and if I'm not put in that role, and I know that that's role is where I'm supposed to be at, or at least I feel that in my heart of hearts, I'm out. That ain't the only place to go.
Hey, so let me ask you this, right? Which is completely a whole different tangent, but do you think the quality of the game suffers because of that? So do you think that the quality, like we complain about the NBA, and it's like, yo, do you think the quality suffers because of that quick ascension and not having to go through what was already a proven formula building up building up the league, let's say?
It does have some bearing on the quality, but what I think bigger than anything is it creates a new element to the game.
Now, and let me ask you for another reason as well, right? And I know the person in the comments probably didn't make these points, but do you think the experience that you spoke of earlier plays a role? Because whether someone can do a job or not, there's still experience in the role, in the company, in the structure of things that plays a role into things. So there could be some merit
And I
to say,
agree. I agree, and I'm not denying that. And I'm not saying just because I may have some additional skill sets that takes away from the experience, and like you said, the merit that does play a role. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is I've worked in spaces from the time I was 15 years old. Because just like you, I've been working. I've been out here. I've been getting to that bread. That's always been me. Nobody ever had to tell me. Your example that you discussed not too long ago about the fast food industry and how there's less workers. So now, because of automation, because of policies and things like that, these companies are altering their business practices. So now, say you have somebody who's been in the business for 10, 15 years prior to the automation the way it is, prior to the implementation of these policies that have raised minimum wage, which has forced a lot of CEOs and execs to change, like I said, their business practices. Do you think that that experience 10 or 15 years ago is all the way viable now, 15 years later, with these changes?
no. Like, I think, so let me, what I was thinking about, and I'm gonna tell you the angle because of the bill that, the beautiful bill from Trump, where they're talking about no taxes on tips and overtime. And in my mind, when I'm standing there, I'm thinking to myself, man, it got to be a boon to an employer to be able to find a really good worker and allow them to work overtime as opposed to going and getting another worker with more liability, a family, got to have insurance for all of them and their family members, and putting more money away for retirement, things of that nature. It's like it could kind of work in their favor if they have real solid workers who buy in to the program of what's available to them. And that's really what I was looking at, where I'm like, yo, people are gonna complain whenever, right? So when the minimum wage was low, people were complaining that, hey, uh, this is not a living wage, right? Then when you raise it to a living wage, right? Because everything is a living wage. If you want to be for real, everything is a living wage. The difference is it a living wage to afford being a baby mama or having to pay child support because you a baby daddy and still going to the club and still, it's not gonna give you a living wage for the type of lifestyle you want to live. Maybe you gotta humble yourself, rent a room, humble yourself, stay at home, work with family, things of that type of nature. But when you raise the money to that amount of money, inevitably there's gonna be less jobs because you didn't magically raise revenue when you raise minimum wage to that amount. So they have the same $100, let's say, in revenue to spend. Now you're saying, yo, everybody that works for you, before everybody, you were spending, let's say, $50 on revenue, on employees,
Yeah.
right? So now they're telling you you had 5 employees, right? And now they're like, yo, you know what? You got to have, you know, 3 employees. No, they say, yo, you got to pay each employee a minimum of, let's say, $15.
Yeah.
So before you were paying them $10, and you're like, okay, well, I still got this $100. They saying, all right, yo, I can only hire 3 of them. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna pick the best 3 to run my business because you magically saying the minimum I got to pay them does not raise my $100 that I have to pay them out from. So everybody's always going to complain. There's going to be complaints no matter what. You're not going to be able to please everybody. And this is why, again, I believe in just a free market. Let the market just play out as it is. That's the best way to do it.
Because it'll ultimately correct itself.
It's going to correct itself, bro. But now, speaking of that, because that's kind of an angle I have with this.
Around the matchups between Reese and Clark, and Angel Reese is still going after Caitlin Clark in the aftermath. Everyone in the arena had to know this foul was coming. As soon as you saw Angel Reese wide open, you knew that Caitlin Clark was going to come in and take that foul.
Yeah. All right. So,
And yo, the funny thing about that, right, is how Caitlin Clark walked away unbothered. Like she didn't even turn around. She literally left her back to Angel Reese. Like you ain't gonna do nothing. You ain't even gonna bust a grape. But yeah,
yo, listen, bro. What's funny about that is I'm not upset at any of this. I think that the WNBA needs this
it does.
because I think that that's ultimately the what's missing is like a villain. And people might not like that it needs to be a villain, but you make more
Oh
money.
no, no,
And if you
no! It has to be because in order for there to be a superhero, which we love superheroes, there has to be a villain.
simply put, yo, like that's the way I look at it. I'm like, and this is the fact that one is white, one is black is amazing marketing wise. They could do what they want and say all this. I think somebody played some sound with Angel Reese, and they saying it's derogatory, and then Caitlin Clark is like, yeah, you know, there's no room for that, and it's like, yo, y'all kind of need some of that.
Yeah,
Like,
it reminds me of the Larry Bird, Magic Johnson saga. You know, of course, they started out in college as foes, went through their careers in the NBA as foes, Both were pretty successful in their own right, um, and it was good for the league at that time. Which is why even certain franchises now we look at in the NBA, and like it's great when they're actually successful, especially in the postseason. Shit, look at the Knicks. Let's go.
Straight up.
But with the Knicks being in the Eastern Conference Finals now, that's huge for the league as a whole.
Yeah.
So
But
this is this is
see,
definitely because look, I think with the WNBA is at a crossroads. So we've had the WNBA now for what, 30 years? Has it been 30 years?
sheesh, that's how long it's been.
So I might be off, but it was the
Nah,
90s, right?
that's
Wasn't
probably
it the mid
about right.
90s?
Yeah, let me see. The WNBA, yeah, 96, man. First
So yo,
season was 97.
we about
Yeah.
to come up on 30 years of the WNBA being in existence. And it has not been good financially this whole time. They've been subsidized by the NBA this entire time.
Yo, I don't, and look, that aspect of it, I don't necessarily have a problem with. You know what I'm saying? I don't have a
But being
problem.
subsidized by the NBA.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that at all
So I don't
because,
necessarily have a problem with it either, but the point that I'm making is they're at a crossroads and they have to gradually establish themselves
yeah, they
as
gotta get off
a
of nibble.
that's what I'm saying. So like that has to occur in order for them to actually be successful and separate themselves. Because the truth is, yeah, they're always going to be tied in with the NBA. It is what it is. But they need to be able to stand on their own.
Yeah, I'm with you. And see, my thing is right now, the WNBA has a wonderful opportunity. You know, yeah, they got to be PC on the cover, but in the next 4 years, there's so much race baiting stuff. There's
With
this
Trump being in office.
with Trump being in office, because you know everybody is
Oh yeah.
butter,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So this is a perfect time to kind of like just sit back a little bit and let this joint bubble. They could be best friends behind the
And
scenes
then
for all
so
we
and
know.
then the other element I just thought about, because China is one of the biggest markets when it comes to the NBA. And I know that they're probably pushing that for the women as well. And that's an assumption. I haven't done any research on it, but I would assume that they're going to try to push into that market because the NBA has already established themselves in that market. So, with that being said, also with the turmoil that's going on between China and the US, that adds an additional element to it.
Yeah, yo, I think they they're doing what they have to do as a corporation, bro. But they for sure should be playing more into or allowing it to play more into what's going on in the general public. Nobody not out here getting hurt. People saying words, doing all this. Everybody is soft out here. You know, it's like, come on, let these rivalries play out. It just reminded me of I saw this Dwayne Wade joint where he was saying at the top 75 joint, he had, seen MJ and was like, yo, man, that's him. You know what I'm saying? And then he went down a few spots in the line and got to Zeke. And he was like, Zeke had his face all screwed up. And he was like, yo, what's going on? He was like, yo, it's still that smoke. But it's like, yo,
It's
this
like
is
50
what,
and Ja Rule.
yeah, this is what you want in sports is rivalries. You don't want
Yeah.
friends playing with each other. Like, that's like, come on now. Like, what are we doing here? Like, how much, there has to be equal parts you wanting to be victorious and you wanting to make sure they lose. There got to be that energy, that combination. It can't be all buddy buddy, we cool and all of that. Like, and then what people gonna say is we old. The new
Yeah,
way
of
is
course.
everybody's
Yeah, I know.
everybody's friends, everybody gets participation trophies, everybody did the best that they could. And
Yeah, yeah, nah, nah.
yo, let's see what else we got. Yo, this joint with Floyd.
Floyd Mayweather responds to reports concerning financial issues. Floyd Mayweather addressed financial issue rumors at a New York City real estate forum, defending his $402 million investment claim. Mayweather, at the Real Deal's New York City forum, addressed financial status concerns, asserting ownership of 2 private jets and 100 buildings, emphasizing his financial independence. He remarked, "If that's going bankrupt, then I'm pretty sure everybody is going bankrupt." Business Insider questioned Mayweather's real estate dealings, reporting no evidence of his claimed sale. Previously, The Real Deal noted his $402 million investment in a 1,000-unit affordable housing portfolio with over 60 Manhattan buildings, made with Josh Gottlieb of Black Spruce Management, as one of the year's largest deals. Business Insider found no evidence of Mayweather's claimed sale in New York City records. New York City Housing Partnership was unaware of any pending sale notification. Mayweather filed his first lawsuit against Business Insider, claiming defamation. He emphasized, "I work hard to build my name, to build my reputation, and I'm not going to let anyone go out there and smear my name."
Hmm.
So let me just ask you real quick: is it defamation if you've, like, let's say, done a reasonable search into something and then found no evidence of it and reported that there's, saying, yo, there's no evidence of that? Like, would the onus then be on you to produce information that would cause them to retract said report? Like, how does that work?
Well, so when it comes to defamation, it's gonna be certain levels of individual because you got public officials or public figures, and you got private individuals. Of course, Floyd is going to be a public figure, and in that case, it requires him. The burden's on him to prove that these statements were knowingly put out there that were false. But so now with the publication, with the journalist saying that there was no evidence of it, it doesn't sound like he's saying that it's completely fact. He's just saying based off of the evidence that I've done my research on, I don't see that. So that's slightly different. And then Floyd, like I said, is going to have that burden. It's going to be on him to prove that this journalist knew, had actual malice when he was putting that information out to intentionally damage his reputation. And from what that just said, it doesn't appear that there was actual malice in the way he covered that information and put it out there.
Now, what I will say is that the source of that clip was Black Enterprise, and
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
AI generated. So I don't know if
yeah.
there's more teeth to his claim, but I just wanted to know, like, like, how do you, like, where does that line exist for journalism? Because we online, you know what I'm saying? So this is things to be aware of. Somebody come back talking about, uh, you said I was fat, you defamed me.
Yeah, so the biggest thing with defamation is the knowledge base of the person putting out that information. So if this journalist knew, like, yo, this information is not all the way fact, but put it out as fact, without doing any due diligence. Yeah, the biggest thing is that falsity aspect of it.
Yo, so part of this too, though, man, is why do we feel that need to have to flaunt our wealth?
Well, he money Mayweather. That's the money team. That's the money team. And I get what you're saying on a more introspective level, right? Because I'm thinking that's where you're the angle that you're taking. But we're talking about Floyd Mayweather, bro. That's what Floyd do. Now I'm not saying I condone it or not, but that's just what he do. That's
But
his. That's part of his brand. The
but
money team.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
Like in my mind, it's like you could kind of keep up the facade of all the other stuff that you're doing and keep these kinds of things, you know, under the fold because I don't really see the need that, you know, I we just love shitting on each other and calling it motivation.
there is a lot to that.
Because affecting uh that's not affecting any of us, yo. We gotta again, bro, we gotta learn to start doing shit in silence again. Like we gotta be still you public, but you gotta learn to do certain
Yeah.
things in
No, I feel
silence.
you. I feel you. It's kind of like this community down here in Georgia. A black couple, I believe, purchased a bunch of acreage, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna make this a all black settlement or some shit like that." And I'm just like, why do you need to unnecessarily put a target on your back? Like, yes, do the work. We're all about that. Actions is louder. That's why we fucking named this podcast that. Yeah, do the work. But it's like, come on. You don't need to broadcast everything that you're doing out here. Until, like I was having a conversation with my son the other day. He's about to graduate in 2 days from high school. So, the next part of his journey going to college. And one of the things that I was talking to him about was not showing your hands, not showing people your cars, the hands that you holding, and the plans that you making. Because there's a lot of people who are naysayers intentionally. There's some people who will try to dissuade you. And there could be people that we actually love in our circles who will try to dissuade us or talk us out of things, not because they want to harm us per se, but because they're fearful or maybe they have failed at things. So, and then they try to project that onto us in our endeavors. So, I had to tell them, like, look, you need to make sure that you're strategizing and putting things in place. Now, you don't need to share everything you're doing.
Word.
You don't.
Yo, listen, man. That and the thing about it is that's the part that like when people are doing things and you not doing it to shit on people, you it's hard to understand that people are not uh they not happy for you.
100.
Yo,
100. For real,
you
for
know what
real.
I'm saying? Like people is they not happy for you out here, man. And we gotta understand that. And that's okay, yo. You just want to be great. You don't really need the applause. We got to get it up out of our system that we need the applause as well. Like 50 got the bread. He didn't get the Grammys and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
yo, Money Mayweather, you got the bread with people hating on your legacy, this, that, don't matter. Don't matter who like you, who don't like you, yo. You got to the bag in a major way, in a way no other boxer ever has. Like you got a whole brand that is living after boxing. That's an amazing accomplishment.
No doubt. What I was gonna say though, the part about people liking you and not liking you played a major role in the amount of money that Money Mayweather attained over that half mark to the tail end of his career, because a lot of people, he was so great that they wanted to see him fail, and they bought his fights. They paid that money. So it could be beneficial. But
Yeah.
at this juncture in his career, he's not getting like financial he's not recouping financial resources because people like him or dislike him. Not at this juncture though.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure. 100%. I'm with you. He ain't in the ring.
Nah.
Yo, let's peep this.
Oh
I don't
boy.
know what he's saying, but let me see what
Oh
he's
boy.
And we did some expansion at the airport, particularly in the cargo. And do you know there's never been a prime construction company that has led growth for an airport, particularly in cargo, anywhere in the United States of America? But BOA Construction received the prime construction contract at O'Hare under my administration. It's the first black prime construction worker company to have a prime contract anywhere in the United States of America. And that's critical, not just for BOA Construction, but for the lives that he's going to transform because he's hiring them. But it's also critical for other major construction companies or mid-sized construction companies that are black owned to know that there is a mayor who sees them and is going to work hard to ensure that whether you're developing homes, whether you are, looking to help take advantage of the opportunities through aviation, whether it's entrepreneurship to provide a service, that there are resources available for you in the city of Chicago. And one thing that I know for sure that I have to do over these next 2 years, every single dime that our people have been robbed of, I want to make sure that that is returned two, threefold, because I believe in something called press down, running over. That is what we have to make sure that happens within our communities.
Yo,
Press
I
down?
don't know.
What is press down?
I was about to tell you, bro. I don't know what the fuck he was just talking about.
Okay, I'm glad because I was a little lost too. What I do know is he mentioned black owned construction firm who's going to be doing a project on O'Hare Airport.
That's
And
what it
it,
sounded like.
okay,
Airport for sure.
okay. Yeah, and he's going to recoup every dime for the community. So, what the same community that was complaining about him taking resources and giving them to the migrants who were being bused and taken care of in the city, he's going to give those same communities the money back.
You know, it looked like he had a church.
It does.
Yo, this is when I see shit like this, bro. I'm like to the highest levels. Like, do you think what we're missing as black people is a contract, a government contract? Like in the state of your city, the what the black people are dealing with. That's what we talking about. Is yo, I'm the first one to give a construction contract on a major airport to a black construction company, a black owned construction company. Bro, like I get it. You know what I'm saying? I get the need for representation and all of this kind of stuff. But again, this is this is unnecessary, right? Like this is unnecessary. Let the results of said contract speak for itself. Why are you announcing, oh, I'm black, pro black, making sure it's going to black when you have a city that is not all black? That doesn't make any logical sense to announce this. It's just like what you were saying with the startup money with the black woman owned joint, where in the other aspect of that is it's like, yo, why are we intent on saying, well, I can poke a hole over here? That's why I keep telling you, we sound like, we some females. Like we're gonna complain that, yo, you're cherry picking contracts, and in turn, what we're gonna do is not create a real system or revamp the selection process to actually now factor in. We're just gonna say, since you guys have been playing for so long, now moving forward, these are just going solely to black people. And you think that that's the move to make?
So, and yo, bro, we sit here and we watch these videos. I'm like, bro, we need to really be some damn campaign managers or some PR. We need to, because these politicians is looking crazy out here. They saying crazy stuff. So what I was thinking just now is the way that you present that is you discuss the the vigorous process in vetting multiple contractors and what that entailed to get the best contractor because you already know the type of circumstances your city has been dealing with. You discuss that process real quick, and then you go into the fact that out of this selection process, which entailed these things that we were looking for, this black contractor was able to beat out the other contractors, which in turn created this history now where we have this black contractor who's going to do work that's going to benefit all people of Chicago and provide a necessary layer and a more of an asset to the infrastructure of Chicago.
Listen, everything you just said, bro. I really don't. Bro, I didn't. I told you in previous episodes, bro. I didn't realize how stupid certain people were, or people were allowed to be in certain positions. Like I always had this elevated thinking of, yo, they gotta be this because look where they at. You know what I'm saying? And to your point, why you don't say, like, if the argument is this, right? And I deal with contractors, black contractors, and they tell me what their pain points are and tell me, yo, uh, we're not able to get these contracts because of this. We're not able to get this because of that. Okay. So now, if you're saying that, hey, we're going to relax these requirements, maybe there was a requirement for a certain number of projects that you had to have completed to in the last X amount of time, right? Like how they do uh, with fix and flips. Cool. Now, once that is laxed, it's like, yo, show why these people are qualified. And it can't be because they're black and we've previously been locked out. Like, I don't understand what we don't understand about that. Like, uh, you cannot end racism or end, yeah, you can't end racism by saying, let me be racist to you. Like it doesn't work like that. Then it becomes a racist power struggle.
Yeah.
Like that's
And what ultimately is happening and what's going to continue to happen is, as a whole, um, black people are not the majority stakeholders in any of the power structure in this country. So they'll never be able to ultimately win those type of battles because they're not holding power in all of those spaces. They may hold some power at the local level in Chicago, Atlanta, New York temporarily, LA. And these are major financial centers. These cities are extremely important. So that is an extreme level of power just because of the amount of influence and the financial aspect of these particular cities where we do have black leadership. But when it comes to court, when it comes to the presidency, and then also too, it's kind of like when we talked about the New Jersey transit issue. You had your line workers. Oh, I want a fair wage. But then you had the CEO, and he was like, "Yo, I want my people to have a fair wage, but I also got to think about the tax base. I also got to think about this. I also got to think about that." So yeah, at the level of Chicago, you could say something stupid like that. But the truth of the matter is, you can't do that on a large scale because, like you said, you represent all of the people, not just the black people. You represent everybody.
yeah. I thought Barack showed them that.
He definitely did. He definitely did. And because I don't know, we had some distorted view that because there was a black face in that position, that he was going to do something different from the other presidents prior to him. And it's like, he's for the people. And to be real, it's going to be the people who are the loudest in your ear. So that's why I'm a little confused, because what I know about what I've seen over the last year or two since he's been in office is that many of his black constituents are not pleased with him.
Mm.
They're not pleased with him at all because he has turned his back on their communities. So now you at the halfway mark. And also now what this sounds like is he's trying to just line it up for his reelection.
Of course, because see, this is the thing. He was with the coalition of mayors with the liberal illegal immigration agenda, and
Yeah.
then now he got to change course because midterm, the country just took a major shift on that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So whoever
'Cause
his
they
campaign,
were really banking on Kamala getting in that position.
yeah, exactly, bro. Yo, but hold on, look, let's here goes some more
Oh, we got some
pandering.
more?
Yeah, it's more pandering.
That will push back on me and say, the only thing that the mayor talks about is the hiring of black people. No, what I'm saying is when you hire our people, we always look out for everybody else. We are the most generous people on the planet. I don't know
That was
too
my
many
man
cultures
Free.
that have play cousins. That's how generous we are. We just make somebody a family member, right? That's just how we are. And so, business and economic neighborhood development, the deputy mayor is a black woman. Department of Planning and Development is a black woman. Infrastructure deputy mayor is a black woman. Chief operations officer is a black man. Budget director is a black woman. Senior advisor is a black man. And I'm laying that out because when you ask how do we ensure that our people get a chance to grow their business,
Yo, so we so generous that we got play cousins?
Yeah, that
What kind of
sounded
shit was that?
that sounded silly, bro.
Yo, why do we do this shit, bro?
Well, it's
And he
kind of
wrote
like
that. That
I
wasn't
hope
off the top.
I hope not.
Nah, he wrote that.
Damn.
That was a written.
Oh, he wasn't freestyling in the booth. That was a written, huh?
Nah, he was prepared. He was prepared for all of this. And it's like, yo, now you coming to pander to the black community because, yo, the party you was rocking with is on the outs. And now you got to come back to the black people like, yo, I always had you in mind and I always got to do this. And
Yeah, but your city is in dire straits. So, what are those people in those positions actually doing? What are you doing? What are you doing to
yo,
make your
bro,
city better and more prepared for what's to come in the future? So I haven't done any research. I want to know what his actual agenda is. Like, what was his agenda coming in? Let me see. Let me see what his what was the campaign that he ran off of?
bro, my thing with them is we got this whole wave of black leadership and black representation, and then all of them went with the status quo of the Liberal Party, failed miserably, and then now they doubling back and they got our best interests um, in hand, and it's like, yo, this is again perpetuating a racial war. This is how you subtly, this is the new agenda. The new agenda is to say, yo, everything black, because you got white liberals that's promoting this because they know that that's going to stoke the flames of the right or the extreme right for sure to make it a racial, uh, thing.
Hmm.
And we always fall for it hook, line, and sinker. Like this joint crazy as hell, bro. Now you pandering. If you really wanted to do something for us, you would do it. Like we don't need the
So
announcements.
I'm looking at the brandonforchicago.com page, right?
Yeah.
So it says the life I want for my family and neighbors is what I want for all Chicagoans. Safe, vibrant neighborhoods. We know that that's not taking place, and not in our neighborhoods, not where the black people are.
Yeah. I mean, it now. What I will say is something that I did look at is the murder rates across the country
And they dropped.
post COVID. Yeah, they've been dropping. Um,
That's good.
yeah, yeah.
So is that because healthcare has gotten better and the innovation where we can save more people?
I don't know. I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's because it's more switches and because of that they not hitting the targets no more like that. I don't. I don't really know
So
what the.
the other thing is healthcare for all. So how does a mayor push for all Chicagoans to have healthcare? Is that a little bit past a mayor's purview?
I mean, above his pay grade.
Yeah, I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. I don't know how you facilitate something like that unless. Now, again, the biggest thing to ask. Let me ask Groke real quick. Is he running a budget surplus?
Who?
Uh,
Brandon Johnson?
yeah,
A budget surplus? Where?
in Chicago.
That dude's in the hole.
Okay,
He's in the hole. But
so
yeah, go ask bro. Ask
I
bro.
did. Mayor Brandon Johnson is not running a budget surplus for Chicago in 2025. The city faced a projected $982 million budget deficit for the 2025 fiscal year, nearly double the $538 million gap from 2024.
And he just
So,
came in.
yeah,
So in
and
that time, nothing of any consequence has occurred except the fact that there's more debt.
so exactly. These are those things where you
And he
can
still
have
got
all
two
these.
years.
Yeah, you can have all these plans, all these dreams, everything that you want to do, which always brings us back to Kamala when they like, yo, how are you gonna pay for this?
It'll pay for
Oh,
itself.
it'll pay for itself.
It'll pay for itself.
Yo, all right. So speaking of Kamala, let's end it with this joint. We got a bunch of stuff we could talk about. We'll save it for another episode. But peep this joint right here, yo.
To the same question I asked, which is, do voters have a right to know more detailed health information about presidential candidates and especially about presidents?
Susan, I'm glad you asked about transparency because it has to be across the board. Joe has been incredibly transparent over many, many years. The one thing we all know about Joe, he puts it all out there. He he is honest, he is forthright. But Donald Trump, on the other hand,
Susan.
has been about covering up everything.
Thanks.
So
Hmm.
we see what she said in this debate in
Now we
2020,
did. Now we did.
and they just released this because, and before we even get to it, we know that we've seen Joe Biden's cognitive decline ourselves. This is not like we're guessing or alleging, like we've watched it
Yeah.
take place while they keep telling us, nah, he good, he's straight, he's good. So let's listen.
So during this time, we were living in Chambers Road, and there were documents related to the Penn Biden Center or the Biden.
Yo, can you hear it?
I can hear it. It's a little bit of an echo.
That's from it though. That's
Yeah, I know. And I see they have the captions on there.
Cancer failure shot or your book. Where did you keep papers that related to those things that you were actively working on?
Well, I don't know. This is what, 2017, 18, that area?
Yes, sir.
Remember, in this time frame, my son is either been deployed or is dying. And so it was, and by the way, there were still a lot of people at the time when I got out of the Senate that were encouraging me to run in this period, except the president. It's not a mean thing to say, but he just thought that she had a better shot of winning the presidency than I did. And so I hadn't at this point, even though I'm at Penn, I hadn't walked away from the idea that I may run for office again. So if I ran again, I'd be running for president. And so what was happening though, when did Bo die? God, May 30th, 2018. Was it 2015 he died?
2015.
I think it's 2015.
Yeah, I'm not sure the month or, but I think that was.
Yeah.
That's right, Mr. President.
And what's happened in the meantime is that as And Trump gets elected in November of 2017, 2016. All right. So,
Bro, before we finish this, like, okay, we are dealing with a president that did not know when his son died.
Yeah, he said he was either deployed or he was dying.
But and he was 3 whole years off. Cause right here he says, yo, then they confirm, yo, he died in 2015. But in the beginning, he says, yo, 2017, 2018, I don't remember. You know, he was either dying or deployed.
Yeah.
So you telling me this is who they were dealing with on a daily basis and running around talking about how on point he is? Like, come on, bro. And again, we are going to argue this. As black people, we gonna argue this. Liberals for sure. Oh, as anything is better than the orange man. Anything is better than the orange man. And it's like, come on, man. Like this why y'all lost right now. That's why y'all crying right now. Yo, this is what y'all wanted. This is what y'all wanted.
2017.
That's when you left office, January.
Okay.
Damn.
But that's when Trump gets sworn in.
Right,
January.
right, correct.
Okay, yeah. And in 2017,
So, quick question:
Bo had passed, and
when was this interview? So it said while he was president, though, right?
Yeah.
And so was this before he decided to run for re-election? Do you know?
Yeah, I think so. This was Biden, because it was with Robert Hur. This was what year was this? Hold on. $2023.
No. Okay, this was recent.
Yep.
This was right when they were deciding whether he would run for re-election or not, because he ran in 2024, right?
Yep.
So this was them setting it up. And wow, so they were listening to this president struggle with remembering dates. It's pretty obvious that his memory was pretty much shot.
Yo, listen, if you forget when your son died, you can't tell me anything else, yo. Like, there's nothing else to discuss. You
But then
not
now, though, but that makes me question, right? So we've seen, and I know that ultimate debate where he just struggled through, and but I guess so because I'm trying to figure out there were elements where he was still fine, and I guess maybe it was kind of like just a circumstantial thing. Like I guess he was good sometimes.
Nah. So I think even here, he's not 100% gone.
Yeah,
Like a good 30%,
yeah, but it's
35.
enough
So
for it to be noticeable and like, yeah, now I don't know, like something's
yeah,
going on with him.
yeah. I mean, shit. You remember the debate? Donald Trump was like, "Yeah, I don't even know what the hell he just said right there." He was doing it, bro.
Hmm.
He was showing it to
Yeah.
everybody, man. This joint crazy, but look, let's see. Oh, and by the way, so it was 2023 when it was done. I mean, yeah, it was done in October 8th and 9th of 2023,
Okay.
and the transcript was released in March 2024, but the Biden administration blocked the release of audio recordings, citing executive privilege.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
obviously, you know what I'm saying? If
Okay.
we're on camera and decide to only release the audio, it's because we don't want you to fucking see what the fuck is going on camera. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
they actually had the video with it.
If we release, and this isn't the video, this is just the audio. They
Yeah.
just released the transcript. It's like, look, you could read what he said,
Yeah.
but you cannot actually hear him say that.
Hmm.
This is it's wild, bro. Let's see.
This is personal. The genesis of the book and the title "Promise Me, Dad" was I know you're all close with your sons and daughters, but Bo was like my right arm, and that was my left. These guys were a year and a day apart, and they could finish each other's sentences. And Bo, I used to go home on the train in the period that I was still in the Senate. Anyway, if you remember.
So
There was
I
pressure,
want to
not
know,
pressure.
right?
Bo knew how much I adored him.
Bro, hold
I
on.
want to
And,
know. I want to
Hold on.
know. Hold on one second. I want to know, and I know we're not gonna know, but I would want to know what his team. I wonder. So first off, the question I had was who was in there during this interview. The second thing I would want to know is like, yo, what were their reactions to what they were hearing? Because I know they saw it in person, but so look, right? This reminds me of my grandmother, right? And my grandmother now has been gone. She passed away about 3 or 4 years ago. And I would call my grandmother a lot over the years. Just have some of the most great, outstanding, funny ass conversations with my grandmother. And as the years went on, my grandmother was struggling with dementia. And now initially I didn't know, right? So, because she would be able to still carry these conversations, like everything made sense until it didn't. And then I was like, oh wow. Like there was things that when I look back, I was like, shit. There was like little small things that were taking place that she would say and I'd be like, okay, just but you kind of overlook it, yeah,
Yeah,
because it's like,
common people.
yeah, she's old, so
That was an ad.
it's old,
That
it's old
that
people,
that that was a little ad, but it was at appropriate time. So
yeah. So, but like I said, it got to the point where I was just like, oh wow, like she's gone, like her mind is all over the place, and
y-
so I would want to know like what his team's realization was and like how did they respond to it. And I think
you
so
saw how they
look,
responded.
well, they responded to it by ultimately protecting him, but
Yeah.
they harmed the American public in protecting him.
So hold on, and let me listen to the last 23 seconds, and then I'm gonna say something.
And maybe this sounds so. Everybody knew how close we were. There was not anybody in the world who wondered whether or not. Anyway. And
Sir,
so,
I'm wondering if this is a good time to take a break. Briefly there.
no, let me just keep going to get it done.
He was like, I gotta go take a nap, man. We gotta finish this up.
So, okay, this was an interview. So, just so you know, for context, what they were interviewing him about, brother, is his handling of classified documents, the same way they eviscerated Donald Trump.
Got you, got you, got you, got you, got you.
It was to investigate Joe Biden's handling of classified documents found at his former office and home after his vice presidency ended in 2017. That's what they
Mm.
was
Okay,
talking to him,
okay, it makes sense.
right?
Yeah.
And his legal team was present. His entire legal team was present. But this just remind me of the FDR joint, you know? Like they're not protecting Joe Biden, they're protecting the power, the position. There's so much
The institution.
beyond. Yes, the institution of it. So you can't allow him to be seen as weak because this impacts negotiations on an international level. Um, so I get that aspect of it, of why the motivation is. Like we gotta. That's one of them things, man. People gotta get out their feelings. You gotta understand why the other side is doing what it is that they're doing. Whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, you still should comprehend it. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? Like that's how you can find some type of middle ground. That's how you could try to negotiate is understanding where the other side is coming from, whether you agree with that take or not. But the people we saw was dealing with him like this. They knew this on a daily basis. And y'all was running him a second term just so he could run long enough, being it long enough to pass it on to Kamala. Cause yo, y'all wanted to make sure it was ushered in right to her, and y'all was gonna take care of it from there, and we was gonna have our first uh, woman president in whatever race she claimed on that day.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's all about concessions. So
Yo,
we were going to celebrate the concessions of it.
yo,
It
this is
was, it was never
crazy.
really about the American people.
Like, yo, so now, what does this make you think of? You brought up your grandmother. If your grandmother, when you realize that your grandmother, that's where your grandmother is, are you honoring, let's say, your cousins or your brothers saying, hey, I talked to grandma and grandma signed everything over to me. She signed her will and left me everything and all that. Who accepts that?
Yeah, that's disingenuous.
You know what I'm saying? So who accepts that? Like that wouldn't hold up and shouldn't hold up in a court of law because she wasn't of sound mind. So if
Yeah.
we're looking at this and saying this is what our president was like behind closed doors, it's like, yo, this is somebody that wasn't of sound mind. So then the next thing comes into play is those pardons. Does he know what he really was doing if this is how he presented himself?
Good point.
Like, what does this allow to be called into question when it involves his signature now? Because look at him, or listen to him, I should say. We can't see him.
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah,
got
this
to
is
do
all
better
things.
as a people, bro. Like we got to be able to apply scrutiny even on the home team. When your home team loses, you want your team to do better. You want your team to go into free agency and get better. You want them to go to the draft and get better. And that means you got to make tough decisions and say, yo, who's not cutting it? We got to improve at your position if we gonna get over the hump. Everybody got to be able to do that. If the Republicans would have lost, that's what would have happened on this side of the fence. If that's what should be happening on the Democrat side of the fence, it's like, yo, how do we regroup? What do we got to do? And this is not the battle you want. Like it's almost like the liberal side has become the party of all the minorities. You know what I'm saying? All the DEI, everything that is in DEI is like all what makes up the liberal party, and
Yeah.
it's like I'm just not seeing how that's a winning strategy. Like this is that soft shit. This is the stuff that we talk about. Like you got to make hard decisions, and they violated, played with us in our face, told us this man. And think about how many people, bro, when he first was running, people was on that, oh yeah, second term, you don't know what you're talking about. Trump is only, 4 years younger than him. He's old too. Oh, it's too old. Biden is fine. It's just his limbs, you know. How would you be walking when you reach that age? And it's like, come on, man. Come on. Like, we could hear him. This isn't a surprise. This is just embarrassing that this exists and it's now out. And it also goes to show that, you know, this is one of those things that I'll say Trump will have been facetious on, because he said, yo, we're not targeting our political enemies and no one should be targeted politically and all this, that, and the other. And we know in different times, these are things that would not have been released, even if it was the other party. You know what I'm saying? Like there would have just been a respect for the dignity of the office, and just the sacredness or the
Yep.
sacrament, whatever, of the office. That, yo, we're not gonna smear the office like that, even if I can't stand you, even if you know it's like, yo, this is bigger than us. We are part of the fraternity, and the fraternity is bigger than the individual. And Trump is coming through, letting his nuts hang.
And that's the biggest thing. And I think that needs to be the take of all Americans moving forward. This shit is bigger than all of us. This shit is bigger than us. And if we want our children to experience the innovation, experience the privilege, experience the safety, experience the opportunities that have been presented to us, um, we gotta really get outside of our feelings. We gotta like acknowledge what it is and just push forward. We gotta do the work, because what do we say? What do we say in our day to day and what's going on out here?
Yo, actions is louder every time. And we out. That's
Yes,
another one.
sir.